I'm joined by Tatana, former Gauteng Premier.
Yes,
former leader of COPE.
yes, sir.
Tirini.
I know. Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Baba Mbazima Shilowa. I'm very, very privileged indeed, and thanks very much for creating time to speak to us here on Power Talk.
No, that's lovely. The pleasure is mine.
Well, because you were a premier at some point here in Gauteng, and also the principal, as it were, as a result of Firoz Cachalia, I thought you could maybe help us appreciate, if you were in the mind of Ramaphosa, what does he see in him?
Yes, I'm glad you frame it that way, because one can only speak of the past and the present. You can't predict the future because people do change.
Yes.
But I think that, Firoz, like I said immediately, his name was mentioned. I said it's a great appointment. He's incorrigible. I think it's one of those people in whom, obviously, in the course of our life, we all make mistakes and all of those. But I think nobody can ever say he knows of Firoz having pocketed some money from a department and all of those. That's the first thing. But secondly, I made him the MEC for safety. One, because I had seen how in the 5 years preceding that, he presided over the legislature fairly, legally. I was the premier, but he was able to say to me, on this one, that will be illegal, you can't do, we can only move this way. Even when he was the MEC, he was also the leader of government business, worked with everybody. But for me, the most important thing is that when he was there, he was able to help understand if this is the legal framework for an MEC in a province. Because we need to be honest, MECs in the provinces for safety is not really, they don't really have much to do. And I had at once decided, look, we don't need this, but it was felt, no, you need it because it may not come across well. But he began to say, okay, how do we make the province and the three metros, at least in Gauteng, Joburg, and Ekurhuleni, to work together? Today, when you see some of these cars that are Gauteng provincial safety cars on the road, dealing with crime and all of those, Firoz brought those six. But finally, in my view, looking beyond my time, I would also have taken heart from the fact that Firoz chaired that committee on against corruption. And I think if you look at some of their recommendations are very clear. They deal with intelligence. They deal with factionalism. They deal with lack of coordination between the various arms. And so I assume, even though Ramaphosa is sitting on that report that I'm citing, he must have thought this man must be the right person. And I hope he gives him the support that he needs for that period that Mchunu is still on suspension, even though I hope that either Mchunu will himself walk away or the ANC will ask him to go, or Parliament's Ethics Committee will say to him, he's not a fit and proper person to be in Parliament.
Isn't it true, though, that when a person simply walks away without there having been a proper binding or legitimate finding on them, they simply re-emerge after 5 years, or they re-emerge elsewhere as an ambassador? Isn't it isn't it proper that the president is subjecting him to the inquiry? If he's no longer his minister, he doesn't have power over him.
Yes, you're right. In an article that I've published today, that is published today, I make the same point as you have made, that look, I understand where the president is coming from, that he could have sacked him for lying in parliament and then leave the whole thing and then just from Mkhwanazi and everybody. But that it would be an injustice if he's firing him on the basis of Mkhwanazi's report, because he could easily say, even though he can't contest it in court, I had no opportunity to rebut all of those. So from that point of view, I understand it. But I work under a different ethical consideration. Forget what the president decides. I think as soon as Mkhwanazi had laid bare those issues, if I thought, look, there's a whiff of this thing, I may have met with this person, I may have interacted with this person, I did, disband a committee or a structure there for policing, which I shouldn't have, or I would simply walk away. Because, as I say, Caesar's wife must also be seen to be, unblameworthy. So, similarly, from the ANC point of view, I think part of the problem that they face is this notion of outsourcing ethical decision making. So you'll find we're talking at two different things. I agree with you. Ramaphosa didn't have to fire him based on those. It's fine to have a commission to deal with those. But I'm saying ethically, if I have those kind of allegations, and I would just simply walk away. You're right that the problem is that if you walk away and you come back as an ambassador and all of those people say, but look at that person, he has been brought in and he still has that stigma. So I think he would still have been required to appear before the commission, even if he wasn't. I mean, Zuma was summoned, even though he was no more president. So he would still be obliged to go there. If he didn't go, they could simply support him.
Oh, I was thinking simply firing him because the outcry, which is my next question, relates to a commission of inquiry. People seem to feel that commissions of inquiries go nowhere. And I don't know whether it's because of commissions of inquiries themselves or simply because they are not the state. At the end of the day, organs of the state need to act, the NPA, the executive, parliament, and even if a commission of inquiry exposes whatever, those institutions still need to act, and often they don't. So, in some ways, firing him in everybody's mind seems like that would have been the best action. And please don't give us an inquiry. It's just another inquiry. We just came from state capture. They are useless. Would you defend an inquiry as an additional form of what the president has done as something adequate?
I defend it in the article I've written today. I'm very clear that we must distinguish between our disdain for that various presidents have picked and chosen what they want to implement coming from coalition, from these commissions. We must distinguish that disdain that we have and fatigue with we are a democracy. And in a democracy, other than firing a minister, the president would not be able to do anything with regard to the malfeasance that may be there, in the police or in the intelligence. So a commission of inquiry in itself is not a bad idea. It's whether or not he'll implement those. Secondly, I think if I look at that announcement, I think there are three things which has been built in, which I hope he's trying to deal with our cynicism and skepticism. First, you'll find that it says not just the timelines for reporting. It says that they will have the powers to be able to say, no, based on what we have, these following people should be prosecuted. These following people we think should be suspended or should face disciplinary action. So it doesn't have to wait for the final report. Secondly, that it also says that the report is not going to be sent to the president only. It will be sent to the president, to the speaker, and to the chief justice, which means each of these three arms of the state will have to explain to us why is the judiciary not acting or the JC not acting if the report was to find that there are things that she needs to do or there are reforms that needs to be done in parliament and we're not moving. So yes, I would be able to defend a commission. I can't defend Ramaphosa not implementing decisions, from previous commission, one being that one by Sydney Mufamadi, in which it found a lot of things in the intelligence, and what he did was just to shift Arthur to correctional services and Mahlobe to deputy minister of water, which I think that's not how you lead.
With regards to Professor Cachalia, what do you think should be the first order of his business?
I think that naturally his first order will be to talk to the president to understand more what is my brief. But secondly, to meet with the senior management of the police. And here I'm not talking just about the national commissioner and the two provincial commissioners and the two deputy ministers, but also including the 9 provincial people. Not so much to deal with allegations, but to say, in their view, what is the state of policing? Where are the problems? And included in that, I would bring the chiefs of the metro polices, at least in Cape Town, the 3 here in Joburg, because that's really where we are being hardest hit with this crime, even though we have these people. So for me, once we have done that, is to then say we must have a program of action. We're not going to wait for the commission. Commissioner, you've got my support. If there is any wrongdoing, you must act. What Firoz mustn't do is what many of us politicians love to do, is to blur the lines between operational, which is not his domain, with policy setting and giving political direction to the department.
Thank you so much, former Premier of Gauteng, Mbazima Shilowa. Thanks very much for coming to share your thoughts with us here on Power Talk.